Welcome back to another video with the MiniBrute. We're going through the MiniBrute cookbook, one preset at a time or one recipe at a time, and I'm cooking them up for you, showing you how they work, explaining how things happen to make the sounds that you want to make for your music production. So today we are working on, it's called Soft Try. It's another one from Victor Morello. It's a simple lead with a slight vibrato, reminiscent of a theremin. The VCA is used to progressively engage the vibrato using the ADSR envelope. I'll explain what that means as we get into it. But first, bam! Let's get back to a null patch, a default patch with nothing going on. So we have room to work, right? So we're going to put our tunings back to normal. Everything's going to be kind of, I'm going to leave the filter in the middle. I always put it all the way to the left like the default says, like that. And then I always, like, when I go to play a sound, I'm like, why can't I hear anything? Oh, yeah, the filter. So I like to leave it on low and then just kind of in the middle. The volume, we're going to leave about 3/4 of the way up, like where it's at. Tune, that's good, that's good. Everything else is off. Pardon me. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get some friggin' sound coming out of here, right? So we're going to start off with a triangle wave, okay? Yay, we have sound. Woohoo! So what we're going to do with it is give it a little FM. Just a little bit. Uh-huh. All right. And now it naturally comes from oscillator 2. However, we're not doing anything with oscillator 2 right now. So what we want to do is we're going to take an FM output from something else. But what? Well, we're going to take the output from, let's go back to the recipe here. We're going to take the output from LFO1 into, we're going to use that as our input in the VCA. That doesn't really help. So if we go back over to here, LFO1 into input 1 of our voltage controlled amplifier, okay? You can also use it as a mixer in this particular, you can use this as a mixer or a voltage controlled amplifier. We're going to use it as a VCA. So now we can take our output into the FM of VCO1. Now it sounds like this. So you can hear the frequency of oscillator of LFO1 is affecting the frequency modulation of VCO1. So, well, now we need to do some fun stuff with it, because that's just like cool, but it sounds awfully basic. So let's make it a little more interesting, okay? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the ADSR envelope generator, and we're going to use that to control how much of LFO1 is frequency modulating VCO1. I have patched our wire in here from the ADSR output to the control voltage input of the VCA. All right. And you'll hear it's playing just a straight note. That's because the envelope's not doing anything. So we're going to give it full attack, full sustain. So now what's happening is your sound is coming through naturally, and then there's a little bit of a ramp up before it starts to modulate the frequency, right? Now we can control how long it takes for that to ramp up using the attack. Here, if I do it here, the starting point of the note in pitch land is directly tied to wherever the LFO1 is in its cycle of wave, right? So by using the attack in our envelope, you see we're able to start the note at a natural whole pitch every time. And then over time, it will go all wonky, right? Now, you can control, if you pay attention to the LED over here on the ADSR envelope, see how it ramps up? Now it's on. Now, if I bring this down, you'll see it go away, right? So, as we know with an ADSR envelope, the attack is how long it takes for the value to come up. The decay is how long it takes for it to come down to the sustain point. The sustain point is where it will, whatever value it will stay as you hold the note. And then release is as when you release the note, how long will the voltage ramp down, okay? So, we're going to use the sustain all the way up to get it to start moving. I'm going to make it move faster so we can hear a little easier. But that's just a bit too much, okay? But if I turn the sustain down, see how it just drops off like that? And once the attack gets all the way to the top, it just drops to the sustain point. I don't want it to do that. I also want it to get up to its highest wobbly point faster. So I'm going to turn the attack down a little bit. Right? And then I'm going to give it some decay, just a little bit, so that it kind of levels itself out. So you hear how it gets wobbly as it comes up, and then it kind of levels off to a more natural. And there's still a little bit of wobble in there, but not enough to like throw everything off. So, the last thing I want to do here is I'm going to add just a little bit of decay to the attack and decay, the amplitude envelope. And that's just so when you let off the note, it doesn't just cut off and just like, boop. See, it ramps off quickly, but smoothly at the end, so that it's a nice even tone. And you can even do the same thing with the attack. Put a little bit of attack on your amplitude modulation, which of course the amplitude is naturally pre-routed to the amplitude modulation, so therefore these are, you know, your attack and decay for the volume essentially. So you know, you can really make it respond how you want it to. I like it nice and simple like that. Now, also, maybe you don't like where the filter's sitting. Well, you can tune it around a little bit and try to find where you like it. Or you can add some movement to that too, right? So we're going to take, now the ADSR is already naturally routed to the frequency modulation of your cutoff. Okay, so the frequency of your filter, or the cutoff frequency of your filter, can be modulated by the ADSR naturally. Now, when you use the ADSR output, when you wire it to something else like we have over here, I'm not 100% sure if it bypasses this natural connection or just makes it parallel. I'm not sure. We're going to find out today. Wonderful. Just what I thought. Your ADSR envelope still affects your frequency modulation, your cutoff frequency modulation, despite it being wired elsewhere. Okay? So, obviously, we can hack this a little bit and use it, right? So, what I've just done here is I've actually made the cutoff of the filter go down as the vibrato goes up from the LFO, right? Right? If I go the other way with it, those wobbles become so much more pronounced, which is still cool. But it's kind of like this way, it's a little more subtle. So if you were using this as like a lead or a pad or something, if you were going to try to, or maybe just like an effect in the background, that crazy wobbly doesn't get in the way of what's happening. I think I like that a little bit better. But you know, and maybe you don't want it to wobble quite as much. Well, we go to our let's see, how would we do that? If we want to adjust how much it wobbles, what we do is we take our output, and instead of going straight from the output of the VCA into the FM of our oscillator, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take and run it through one of the attenuators. Now, attenuator 2 is naturally routed to the amplitude, but as soon as you route something into it, it stops doing what it's naturally supposed to do. So you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to take that out of there, run it back into our FM. And as you can hear, the filter is still dropping out the way we had it wired. But now we have none of the pitch vibrato, none of the wobble, right? So what we're going to do now, add a little bit of that amplitude modulator, or the attenuator 2 back in, right? And we can control how much it wobbles or how much it affects the sound. And then we can control how much frequency is modulated, or how much the frequency is modulated on oscillator 1 by just simply controlling the FM knob. And it can get really wild. So by using the attenuator knob, we can get a little bit more we can get a much finer control over the wobbles, which of course just allows for, of course, more control allows for, you know, just a greater spectrum of creativity. So, oh! I forgot the glide. So we can add a little bit of glide to it, and this allows for you hear without the glide, it's just very, I don't know, robotic. When you put a little bit of that glide in there, it just adds a little bit more character and life to the top end as the note attacks, as it impacts. So, you know, I would advise using a little bit of that. So anyway, there you go. There's the soft try. You know, there you go. There you go. Maybe you can use this sound and you can come up with something neat. As always, any questions or comments, all right, there you go. There's the soft try by Victor Morello. I gave it a hard try. That was a dumb joke. Okay, thanks, bye.